Welcome to Creating Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Paige. This is an inspirational podcast where guests come on and share their real life stories. They discuss their struggles, hardships, and traumas. They also discuss how those encounters have helped them change, grow, and the healing process they've experienced. They share where they are today in hopes of helping someone else who could be going through the same or similar situations. So join me as we inspire others weekly to become the best versions of themselves. Hey y'all, welcome into another episode of Creating Yourself podcast with me, your host Paige. Today I have on Sasha, and she is going to talk to us about her life and what she has going on. Hey Sasha, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. We had a little bit of technical difficulties getting started, but we got it figured out, so we're here now.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that everything will just act accordingly. Not give me any bad luck. That'd be great.
Well, listen, if it happens, we'll figure it out and we'll just keep going. It's fine.
There we go.
Yeah. So tell us about yourself, where you're from, and just take us back to the beginning, your life, and talk about you.
Oh man, this is always an interesting topic. I'm definitely like a chatterbox. I've always been a talker from as young as I can remember, and I don't think it ever faded. But my story, honestly, is just crazy. I just turned 34 on Sunday, and so I'm already kind of in like a reflective period, looking back on the last few years and life overall. And I really used to be in this almost like victim mentality, woe is me all the time. I really couldn't get out of it. And I think now I'm realizing that I just did not know how to cope with some things that most adults in their 50s haven't even gone through. Like, I don't even know where to begin, honestly. I could go back and tell stories from the age of like 9, and I could also tell some things that happened to me at 31 just a few years ago, and it's these things that have deeply, deeply impacted who I am and how I act, and little triggers and flaws within myself. It all pertains back to these things. And so when I think about my story, the first thing, and I even mentioned this in my little bio to you, I do love to stay within the present as much as possible, because it's so easy to fall back into that sadness. It's so easy to just start feeling those feelings as if it were yesterday all over again, and it's hard sometimes to pull yourself back out of it. So I'll probably jump a little bit back and forth. I would say one of the most recent things that has truly taken up a lot of my mental space and has impacted how I see myself and all kinds of things. I found my boyfriend of 7 years. I found him deceased 2.5 years ago. I was the one who found him. I was the one who had to break the news to the mothers of his children and to his brother. And a lot stemmed from that. Like, sadly, his brother, I don't know, they just decided to he wanted Matt's keys back from me pretty immediately, and he took Matt's truck from me while I was in class at UK, and it was pouring down rain outside, and so I came back outside to no vehicle, and I had to Uber back home, and I didn't even have any money to do so, so it was really, that was a lot. And then one day I was passing, like I was going down his road and I was going to pass his house and I just couldn't pass. And so I go down his road and it's drizzling a little bit and I see all of my belongings in the front yard. in the rain. So, like, the gifts I had purchased him and some of my electronics and all kinds of my childhood stuffed animals, items from my
Yeah.
deceased parents, like, all of it was put out in the rain. And that whole experience really hardened me. Like, they had a celebration of life for him and they didn't tell me about it. They didn't tell me where it was or what time. So I didn't get to say goodbye.
Oh,
um,
wow.
yeah, that whole experience was just something a lot of people don't have to go through. Not
Yeah.
many find their partner of so long deceased, especially at a young age. Not
Right.
many have the opposite family that like just doesn't tell them anything, and you're not invited to basically their funeral to say goodbye. That's It's horrible and it makes me want to
Yeah.
lash out, but I try not to. And so that's the most recent thing that I'm really just trying to grow from. And I cannot bring him back, and I cannot change how this is hard to talk about. I can't change how they have treated me and the things they've said about me, but I do know that he saw it all. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that he is proud of me. I know he's proud of me for not reacting and not losing my SHIT because I had full right to.
Yeah. Do you have any idea as to why they would have acted that way towards you? I mean, was there like bad
Oh
feelings
yeah, I have.
before he passed?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
So he had 4 children technically. 3 were
Mhm.
biological. 1 he was just acting as a father. Um,
Mhm.
both of these women just really did not grasp and didn't want to do the idea of civil parenting. They truly
Gotcha.
believed that what they did was best, they knew best. They talked badly to him and about him. They sent him nasty messages. I saw them myself.
Mhm.
Um, the fact that I am a model really doesn't sit well with people. So, I
Mhm.
mean, if you're a mother and you break up with the father of your kids, and within 1, 2, 3 years, he's dating a younger, decent looking girl, and you find out that she's a professional model. And yes, I have
Mhm.
modeled nude. I've modeled nude for the University of Kentucky for 2 years, and I was paid for it.
Mhm.
So it stirs up a lot of bad feelings, and people just can't accept that I'm an artist. I'm not a porn star.
Yeah.
So it was rough though. It was a lot of stuff I really don't understand. A lot of It's just sad that mothers are bringing that unnecessary drama upon themselves. Like, do it for your children and just be civil. You do, and it's the same for men. You do not speak badly of the mother to or around your children. Same vice
Yeah.
versa. It no matter how you feel about them, you do not need to be spoiling your children's minds with those toxic ideas and hatred feelings that you have. That's not on them. That's on you to get that fixed. So,
Yeah.
they
I
just
mean, I'm a
haven't done
mom.
that.
Yeah, I'm a mom to 2 kids, and I mean, I've probably said things I shouldn't have in front of my children about their fathers, and I'll
It
be the first to
happens.
admit it, you know. I always joke and say, I'm like, look, I put all my skeletons out on my front lawn for Halloween decorations because I have nothing to hide. So, I'm not perfect. So I'm sure I've said
Right.
things in front of them that I shouldn't have. But I have never been one to keep my children from their father. If they want to see them, they're more than welcome to, as long as they're not harming them in any way. And I
Yeah.
do my very best to be the type of mom that doesn't create drama. So I'm completely
Yeah.
on your side when it comes to that. It's like kids first, your all's relationship second. Period.
Yeah. It's just It's just like, if y'all broke up, that stuff doesn't matter anymore, and
Right.
you're not serving yourself anything by holding on to the hatred or to keep repeating bad things about your ex on both sides. Both y'all need to grow up, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I know that it happens and it slips, and sometimes we're just in the moment, and sometimes you don't even realize that your kids are around and listening. They're little sponges. So I totally get it, but it's... those women, good Lord, they need a wake-up call, because God rest his soul. I love him and I miss him. He made some mistakes, but he was one of the best fathers I've ever seen. I've never seen someone save every piece of paper that your child ever even touched, because he was just so proud of it. He was proud of you writing your name. He was proud of you writing one letter. He was proud of everything they did, every picture they took. He wanted to be everywhere they were. He wanted to take them everywhere. He was truly... they did not recognize what they had, and all of that stress and drama caused him to relapse on drugs, and it took his life. And it's a shame. It's a huge shame. So right now, I think that's probably just the biggest thing that I'm dealing with all the time. Is just a constant 1 minute at a time moving forward and trying to act in a way that would make him proud and not bring myself any trouble or drama.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
Right. I think, so if I drift back before that, so I won a trip to Italy in 2017 for my photography, and that was a whole whirlwind situation, because when I found out that I won, the trip was in 21 days, and I didn't have a passport. I had never got one. So I went to go get my passport. I had to like fundraise to even get the passport, and I had to get it expedited. And it's about 24 hours before the plane, like before I'm supposed to be at the airport and leaving, and my passport hasn't arrived. So Friday around noon, when they call, it's like the people who are on this woman's team, and they're like helping me get all scheduled and whatnot. She calls me and she's talking to me about stuff, and I was like, well, the passport's not even here, so like I really doubt I'll be able to come. And I guess I mentioned some other things. I was talking about some stuff. But lo and behold, Friday afternoon at like 2 o'clock, here's my passport. 4 hours later, I'm at the airport on my way to Italy, out of country for the first time, like pretty much crying every 5 minutes because I don't know what to do with myself. And when I get over there, I go through the trip, and this same woman who I was talking to on the phone is driving me back to the Munich airport over in Germany. The Venezia airport. She says to me, she's asking me a couple of really simple questions, but I'm clearly like kind of triggered by them because I started crying. And she stopped me and she goes, I want you to recognize this. She goes, I'm asking you a very simple question, and it's so hard for you to answer it that it's moved you to tears. And she goes, I want you to recognize something else. She's like, when I talked to you for the first time on the phone, basically the first thing out of your mouth was like, look, I'm just a little girl with 2 dead parents. Like, I don't know what to do here. She said, you have made the passing of your parents and your trauma, you've made that your entire story. It's the first thing you want to tell people. You feel like they need to know it about you. That moment was really defining for me because I no longer wanted to make that my story. Like, yes, it's a very huge chunk of me, but she helped me understand that it's definitely not my entire story. It's only a few chapters, and I have a long book ahead of me still. So clearly at that time I was still struggling quite deeply with the passing of both of my parents, as well as the passing of my brother. That was, my mom was 57 and I was 19, and my dad was 52 and I was just, it's actually coming up on his 10-year anniversary here in about 2.5 weeks. So it's just a lot at a really young age to deal with. And then adding in even younger than that, facing sexual assault at 9 years old by a 17-year-old who's supposed to be my babysitter. And I still remember that day quite vividly. And so it's just all these little pieces that have made me who I am, and how I cope with things and how I react to things. It's all, life is one giant lesson every single day. So
Yeah.
I'm just in the middle of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just recorded another podcast with my friend that we put out weekly, so it'll come out way before this one will. And of course, for at the end of April, April being Sexual Assault Month, that's what we covered. So we just did an entire episode about that. So, and she is a survivor of childhood sexual assault and adult sexual assault. So that episode is near to her and, hard for her, but it's definitely something that, on our podcast, we like to cover every month something awareness month that is close to us and near and dear to us, and something that we've experienced, so that we can bring awareness to it and keep talking about it, because a lot of people don't like to talk about stuff like that. It's hard for them, but it happens. And so it's like, the more we talk about it, the more we bring awareness to stuff like that, and the more people feel like not only is it okay to talk about it, but also to show like the signs of it, so that if someone may be experiencing it and you don't know what to look for, that's what we like to try and help with too.
And that part's tricky too, because sometimes the manipulation is just so real and so blinding, and a lot of young girls don't realize that just because you live in a culture of where people get drunk and, oh, I was drunk. Like, I've been drunk plenty of times. I've been blackout a few times, and I still remember quite a few details from those nights. So you have to be, you don't have to go to these parties and take drinks from people. You can go get your own drink and open it yourself. Like, there's all these little tips and tricks, and you don't have to sleep with someone. If they repeatedly say yes, 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 and you repeatedly say no, 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 the answer's no. It doesn't mean you eventually give in. It means if you gotta scream or push them off, you do, because if someone's not understanding after the first, second, third time you've said no, this isn't going to be a fun sexual experience for you. This isn't going to be a loving sexual experience for you. And I really do hope for the future that a lot more young people really start just kind of holding on to their sexual prowess a little bit longer. Like, keeping the body a little more pure and a little more sacred as their brains are growing, and as you're going through life experience of realizing what life is and who you are. It'll be a lot better to get there and not feel that self-shame of who I've slept with or what I've done and the things I did that I didn't really want to do because I was pressured. Like, your body is, for lack of a better word, a temple. My body's a castle. Like, only queens allowed. Like, So sexual assault as a whole, and I mean, I love hearing more and more stories from men too. Like, this whole P. Diddy thing, there is a long list of black male rappers who were sexually assaulted by him, and it makes me so sad. It breaks my heart. Like, Meek Mill is one of them. Meek Mill was sexually assaulted by him. It's disgusting.
It's baffling
makes me
to
angry.
think
Makes
that,
me want to light these people's.
Yeah, it's baffling to think that those people could be or have been even, it's just like, wow, even someone like that can be taken advantage of. It's just mind-blowing.
And the
Like,
people who have the money and who are doing it, like, really, you got millions and millions of dollars and that's what you want to do? Like, that's what's taking up some of your time and mental space?
yeah,
Nah, man, I'm gonna be just buying boats and cruising the world and never speaking to anyone again. Like,
yeah.
I
It's
don't
like
get it.
put me in an RV and like give me all the money and let me just travel the world and like see all the beautiful sights. And I don't want to be around people. I don't want to people.
Yeah, like, I'd rather drive my RV like down the coast, just throwing hundreds out at everybody and anybody on the road and
Right.
street everywhere, rather than it's like, let me take my millions and let's hurt people.
Yeah, I don't
And
get it.
it really makes you question kind of his mental state too. Like, if he really didn't believe he was hurting someone, if he really believed, he's like, nah, man,
Yeah.
I'm helping him. Like, I'm putting him on the come up. Like, he wants this too. That's,
Bizarre.
we live in a messed up world. Such a beautiful world, but such a messed up world at the same time. And
We do. Yeah.
yeah, it's sad how many people have faced even my story. I know that it could have been worse. I know it could have gotten worse. It could have been worse. And I know there are people out there who have gone through worse. And it's terrifying how many people are out here walking around every day with mental illness and unresolved trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is
They need to
sad.
be up on these podcasts so they can just
Yeah.
release some demons.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, and with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm hoping to get some people on to really talk about that too. So
Right.
yeah.
And that's something, I mean, I can touch on really quick. It was interesting. I've talked to counselors here and there. I've done my therapy stuff here and there. Nothing like truly serious. It was always more about like money, the financial not being able to afford it kind of thing. But I did find someone who took Medicaid, and I had gone to her about 4 or 5 times, really started to enjoy her. And after talking through some stuff, so in February of 2022, about what, 5 months after Matt passed, she diagnosed me with PTSD and major depressive disorder. So I can speak on those just a tiny bit, but I also, probably like many others do, I almost want to self-diagnose in a way, like saying, oh, I'm better than that now. I do feel that I'm better in certain ways, but I also do realize that it's going to be something that just takes time for a long time. It's never going to be something that I'm all the way over. I'm never going to be completely over losing my parents. I'm never going to stop missing them.
Yeah.
I'm never going to stop missing Matt and wondering why that happened. Like, why did you have to go like that? Why did you have to leave these 4 children here under the age of 18? Like, so many things you should have been here to experience with them and you're not. And that's, oh, but someday, like, I think we get the answers in the end, maybe. And by then, it doesn't even matter anymore. So,
Yeah.
just gotta live one day at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely hard. I've had the only really like super tragic loss that I've experienced is my aunt passed away in 2021 completely unexpectedly. She actually like slipped and fell in the shower and just yeah. So it was kind of one of those like freak accidents where it's like you never expect it to happen that way. And so I've kind of gotten to
Dang.
the point where, I'm able to talk about it and like not lose it. But,
Yeah.
And then actually the same day, earlier in that day, I had a friend that was killed by her husband in like domestic violence. And I'm a domestic violence survivor. So that one like rocked my world, of course. But, you know,
In
it's
the
just
same day?
same day, yeah. I found out about my friend at like 6 o'clock that night. And then nobody had heard from my aunt in like a day and a half. And it was in February. And it was when we got like an ice storm in 2021, like that really bad ice storm
Yeah.
here. And my mom was like, told my dad, you've got to go out there and just check on her because nobody can get a hold of her. My dad actually was one of the ones that went out and found her because the neighbor had went over initially. And the neighbor was like, the dogs are loose in the house and there's like just dog feces everywhere in the house. And I was like, something's wrong. Something's up. I
Oh
knew at
my.
that moment that something was wrong because she treats her dogs like they're her children. You know, like her dogs are
Yeah, any basic
an
dog owner, if you look
extension.
into their house and see
Yeah,
that, you're going to be like, oh,
yeah, they're an
something is up.
extension of her children. And as soon as my mom told me that, my gut was like, something's not right. And they looked in like the bedrooms and the living room windows and couldn't see her. Her car was there. And by the time my dad had got out there, they had gotten into the house and found her. And the shower was actually still running, so it was really weird.
Oh,
So yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, but somehow like her
Oh
foot
my
had
goodness.
wasn't over like the drain hole. So like it was draining, so nothing was like it wasn't like filled up or anything, thank God, because I feel like that would have made it worse.
Oh
So
my.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. But yeah, it happened the same day. I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what is going on in the world today? But so
Yeah. Okay,
pretty
so you say that's what day of 2021 was that, if I can ask?
February 12th, 13th, 12th, February 12th.
Okay, yeah, you said February, the ice storm. Yeah, for a second
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, if that happened like on the same day that like Matt passed away too, that would have been
Yeah.
wild. I would have really been like, what the hell's happening today? But yeah,
Yeah.
that is hard, and
Mm-hmm.
it's more difficult when it is suddenly out of nowhere, when there's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely no reason for you to believe or think or even envision of that person being gone.
Mm-hmm.
It it hurts that much worse.
Yeah.
So I definitely relate to that hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah. So he passed in 2021 as well.
Yeah, he passed September. I I stopped hearing from him on the 15th, but I figured that he was just busy or went somewhere, forgot to charge his phone, yada yada, his excuses. And
Mm-hmm.
he was supposed to pick up his truck from me the next morning. And I also had class. It was my second day of class back into the University of Kentucky. I had just been readmitted. So this is my
Mm-hmm.
second day of classes and my first day in this like Tuesday, Thursday class.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like 35 minutes into the first class, and I'm just getting more and more antsy because I've been trying to get a hold of him for like 2 hours that morning already. And I just look at my teacher and I'm like, you know what? My boyfriend is a recovering addict. He's
Mm-hmm.
not answering me, and I need to go check on him. I need to figure out what's going on, whether I got to beat him up or what's happening
Yeah.
here. And
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, I understand. Go." And I stopped by the gas station before I got to his house. I think in a way I was trying to tell myself like everything's going to be fine. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
fine, just a normal day. So just
Yeah.
get your drink, get a banana, get him something, and then go yell at him for not answering his stuff or charging his stuff and making me worry like this when I have school. Like you
Yeah.
MFer. Ugh. And so I pull up to his house and his car's there, and he had given me a key, so I'm the only person who had a key to his home. And the door's locked, so I open the door, and Winnie, our dog, she didn't come up to me, so I'm like, okay, maybe she's down in the cage. And I holler out his name, and I don't hear anything back. Like the TV, nothing's on. And as I rounded into the kitchen, he was on the floor face down, and he was already very purple and very splotchy from where the blood pools to the surface. It's called, for anyone who doesn't know, it's called the body going into rigor. And so I knew it. I knew in a second that he was gone. There was no bringing him back. And I knew he had been gone for about 12 to 16 hours already. So that was such a wild. And what's even more wild is that 3 weeks before that, a very great friend of mine, Steven, passed away in his sleep at the same age. He left behind a 14-year-old daughter and a grieving mother, and he basically had a hernia, I think, ruptured. So it ruptured in his sleep, and he passed away in his sleep. And he passed away, and I was literally crying in Matt's arms, talking about how, like, I'm scared that this is going to be you someday. Like, if you don't get it together, if you ever relapse again, I don't want to deal with this. And he was consoling me, saying, like, you don't have to worry about that. And then 3 weeks later, I'm finding his deceased body. It just makes me sick.
Yeah.
That's rough. Ugh. That's a lot. But yeah, so there's like plenty of trauma and fun stuff I could talk about.
You sound like so many like millennials. I swear we use dark humor to handle trauma. It's just how we are.
I have to.
It's
Because
something
like
about
I said, the
people
darkness is
look
too
at
easy to
millennials.
seep into.
People look at us millennials and they're like, how can you say that? Like, after you just described what you described. And it's like, that's just our generation's way of handling trauma. Like, it's just how we are. Like, we've experienced so much as a generation that I think it's the only way we know how to deal with it.
If you don't find any humor somehow, some way, you will fall into the darkness and you will not get out. And because we totally do live in an age, like, they had their drug scare days, yes, but now we have even more of a drug scare, because fentanyl isn't like an overdose kind of drug. It's a death kind of drug. It's a pretty much take you out first try kind of drug. And that with the alarming rate of rising suicide, like, I personally have known 30 classmates from my hometown in Ohio who've committed suicide.
Wow.
Like, I think, I mean, heck, 2 people from my little town of 2,000 people just committed suicide, like, 6 months ago or something, and it happened within, like, 5 days of each other. One of them went out to the overlook cliff kind of area and jumped off the cliff, and he had 2 or 4 children, and he was married. And then the other guy who I went to school with, who ran a very successful food truck that everyone loved, and he was a music kind of dude who had a band. He had lost weight and was drinking less alcohol. He went out and shot himself. So it's alarming. We have dealt with a lot. 90s babies, we dealt with a lot.
Yeah.
And then we were also teenagers too. We were teenagers
90s.
too.
Yeah.
Whew. 80s had to deal with all those crazy serial killers.
Yeah, I'm an 88 baby, and I mean, I was raised in the 90s, so, but yeah, it's like we've had so many traumatic experiences as a generation that it's like, you can't help but, like, just cope with humor anymore. I mean, It's crazy. We talked about it, like I said, on my other podcast that I have with my friend about the millennial trauma of the generation that we have dealt with. It's just crazy. I mean, we've had like the amount of like mass shootings, school shootings, like COVID. We've had, gosh, I can't even think of them all.
9/11.
9/11. I mean, and that war is technically still going on. Like, it's never stopped.
It's still
I mean,
happening right now.
It's still happening, and like I was in 8th grade when 9/11 happened, and I'm 36
right
now. My oldest child is in the same grade I was in right now when 9/11 happened, and that war is still going on.
That's wild.
Like, that's insane to me.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Whoa, it's really insane when you put it that way. Like, I was in 8th grade, and my child now is in 8th grade, and the same war that started when I was in 8th grade is still going on today.
Still happening. Yeah, it's insane. And we've dealt with so many, like, mass shootings, and, like, we've dealt with Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky happening, and like we've dealt with the submarine going down, and like
we dealt with the first black president like hitting that monument. So that was something that no one else before us had ever seen.
I remember growing up that like nobody talked about who they voted for. Like, you didn't talk about it because it was nobody's business, so that things like what happen nowadays don't happen. And it's like, when did that change? Like, why are we talking about it? Can we go back to when we didn't share everything that we did with every single person that we know and strangers? It's just weird. I don't know.
I'll do it. And that's why, I mean, two things you really shouldn't talk about much are religion and politics. Because of that, you just have the polar opposites. Neither can even slightly come into an agreement with the other. Like, there's no give and take. And now, like, people almost badger you now for what political party are you.
Yeah.
And regardless of if you even know how they feel about anything, if they like tell you they're a Republican, they're like, I'm sorry, I don't want any contact with you, or vice versa, whatever. So it's
crazy.
And like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
I remember my dad wouldn't even put out like the signs in the front yard of who he would vote for because he was like, it's nobody's fucking business who I'm voting for. So, and that was when I was a kid growing up. And nowadays, it's like people put the whole yard is covered in signs of who they're voting for like every.
I do not remember being a child seeing yards like that. I don't remember that from being a kid, seeing yards plastered. I don't remember even seeing a few.
No, it wasn't a thing. Millennials have definitely grown up in a crazy generation.
If you go to my hometown, oh my God.
Yeah.
The whole damn town is just plastered in Trump. And I just laugh it off. Like, you got just Trump everywhere. They got him in the house windows. They're on the front lawns. Like, there's just one house that has literally, he lives off the highway and he has a whole row of them going down the whole line of his property.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, man, I wonder how much that cost.
Right. Jeez.
He's got like $500 or $5,000 in Trump signs and Trump flags. And I'm like, good Lord, man. I don't remember anybody doing this back in the day.
No, I don't.
But now it's a fight. It's a fight between Trumpers and whoever else. It's
absolutely
like if people get so hyped up that they want to start shooting or they want to truly bring harm and hurt someone simply because of who they vote for, I think y'all are just completely off on the wrong path. So
I agree. Yeah,
politics are rough.
Yeah. I try to stay away from them as much as possible. Because I don't think that, again, it's just a taboo subject. But like B, I don't know enough about it to like fully educationally speak on it because I just don't know enough. So
Yep.
I try to stay away
And
from
I
it.
straight up say that. I'm like, bro, I don't know enough to say anything, so I don't know what you want me to say. Like,
yeah. I'm not educated enough on political shit to really truly speak on it, so I just don't
yeah.
care. I probably should,
I
but
just tell everyone, like, hey, you do you.
mm-hmm.
Don't be mean to me about anything. And then we're cool. Like, other than that, I don't care. If you're a cool person and you treat me with kindness, yeah, we fine. You vote for who you're going to vote for. We're all wrong anyway. So it's like, we're never going to win.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's, Lord. Yeah, I agree.
Because when you have to think about it, the one last thing on, like, voting and stuff. What I've always found interesting is, like, America could be like, we want this person, all our votes go to them. And then the Electoral College is like, we like this person though, so we're gonna go with this person. Like, the fact that they can basically override America's choice and put in who they want, and that person becomes president. The whole system is kind of messed up. Like, local voting and stuff is super important, and it does make a difference. But when it comes to voting for the president, I really feel like that's pointless, because if the majority chooses one person and it doesn't go to them, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so I think it deters a lot of people away from even wanting to learn more about politics and all that, because they don't believe it will matter. So we got to figure out how to fix that too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I just don't know enough about it to really speak on it a whole lot, so I try not to.
It's not worth learning.
It's too confusing. I don't understand it.
Yeah, too time consuming, too depressing. Nah.
That it's too depressing for sure. For
Seriously.
sure.
So yeah, my story's definitely interesting. It's definitely filled with a little sprinkle of everything, but I'm here now, and life ain't too bad. It's like, hey, if I'm getting a meal every day, and I've got shelter, and I've got a running vehicle, I can't really ask for much more.
So how has it been since he passed? Like, what has been a way that you have really, like, coped with it and dealt with it and tried to, like, heal?
I think my healing came completely from staying at home, staying basically by myself, and allowing myself to feel and think whatever I wanted in those moments. Like, I cried a lot, and so I just allowed myself to feel all of those emotions, to talk about it whenever I wanted, to talk about it however I wanted, to just release those feelings, even if it was just to myself, and then to sit there and truly cry it out. I think that really helped me the most. That helped release just harbored bad feelings and harbored sadness, and it's okay to be in your sadness for just a little bit, but at a certain point you can't let it become your entire story. You have to close that chapter. And it took a minute for me to close that chapter. Truthfully, I think I just closed that chapter about 5 months ago. It took me about 2 years to truly say that I think I've moved on now, and I don't harbor half the hatred I did for, like, right after he passed. how pissed off it made me. And because not just him passing, I actually found out just before he passed away, or when he passed away, that he was sleeping with a 21-year-old. And this little 21-year-old has HPV, and they didn't use protection, and they decided to pass it along to me, and now I am dealing with a stage 3 cervical cancer, all because he couldn't keep his dick in his pants. So,
oh my goodness.
It was a whole lot of stuff built up into one, and a whole lot of different traumas in one. So it took me quite a while to, I guess, learn how to find a reason to live. Because after you just lose so much over and over and over again, I'm just sitting here like, what is the damn point? I don't care to stay around here for another 34 years for more depressing shit. For a family that doesn't love me, to not have a loving partner, for someone to cheat on me more, for me to lose another precious animal to me, for me to have more health problems. Why? I'd rather bow out now. But something keeps me here. And I guess I just try to focus on that. I think anyone who's really deeply struggling with self-worth and suicide and wondering what the point of life is or what life's worth, anything like that, they really need to start focusing in on the small things. Like, there's so much beautiful shit right outside your door. The sun is so beautiful. The leaves and and your green grass and the flowers are so damn beautiful. The clouds are so pretty. They make cool shapes sometimes. Like, and that's what I try and do. Like, find the little humor and the laughs and the beauty in everything around me. Like, I live in the ghetto, but, I'm trying to make the ghetto look a little bit prettier, and my dog is so damn beautiful. If my dog can be here for me, I need to be here for her. And just everything. Like, man, you see like a drawing, like that graffiti is so cool. That's so cool. I'm glad I got to see that. Or anything and everything. I love to find the beauty in it. So I hope that others can really do that too. And if you're ever feeling down, literally just step outside your door and just start looking at everything and be like, man, that's so fucking beautiful. Look at that fucking cloud. That fucking cloud's so cute and so pretty. Like, check out that beautiful ass butterfly. Like, it makes you feel good, and then you just notice, like, okay, maybe everything isn't the worst, and I'm not like, life sucks, I want to die. Like, I don't need to go back to my teenage angsty bullshit, so just gotta be happy.
Yeah. Well, I think that you have a story that not many do, and I think that it's a beautiful thing that you're still here and you are surviving and thriving. You're one day at a time is thriving, I feel like. Listen, you got to find like you said, the beauty in everything, and if you are making it one day at a time, that's thriving, So, I think you're doing it, and you're doing the best you can, and that's all that matters. So,
right.
So I
think
appreciate you coming
everyone needs
on.
to give themselves that little bit that you just said to me. Everyone should say that to themselves. Like, if you're here again today, you did it. You did it, girl. Like, get it. You did it. Let's go again. Let's do it again.
You survived 100% of the days that you woke up. So.
Preach.
I heard that somewhere on TikTok, and I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense.
I like that.
I know. You survived 100% of the days you woke up. Like, holy shit. Okay. That's a good
true.
one. I like
I really
that.
do like that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's slick. I like that.
Right. So,
and I'm even wearing...
Yeah. I love that.
I'm even wearing my little...
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yes.
And you are beautiful. I was so excited that you brought me on here. This is a beautiful little thing that you do. So I'm super excited just to talk to you. And I hope
Yeah.
everything turns out okay because I'm a bit wild, so.
Oh, no, you're fine. I think it's great. Listen, everybody has their own personality, and that's what we're here for. So I don't like,
Yeah.
go with the flow. I like unique and wild and crazy. It's right up my alley. So
Cool.
fits right in.
Good. For once, yay.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure you hit the follow button on whatever listening platform you are using, and head over to my social media pages and give me a follow there as well. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok at Creating Yourself Pod. And if you have a story you would like to share on this podcast, email me at creatingyourselfpod@gmail.com, or you can message me on any of my social media pages. Make sure and come back next Tuesday for a brand new episode. Hope you guys have a great week. Bye.